Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June desktop time. We are actually back live. We have folks that are still coming in the room. It's been an interesting time in our country the last couple of few months, and so we're extremely happy to be back here. As always, we're sponsored by QBox, although we try not to talk about QBox too much. This is really an open forum, and I'd like to just kind of reiterate, because it's been a while since we've gotten together, but this forum is really designed for people to learn more about, learn from someone like, we're very fortunate to have Tony with us today, about different tax services and different ideas for, running your financial practice. But also, we're very interested in talking to people about applications that integrate with desktop, because QBox is a desktop-centric product. That's just the way it is. We don't integrate with any SaaS products or hosted products. So we inevitably, when we go to shows, just various shows, we have people coming to us saying, well, geez, desktop's going away, and we're here to tell you that it's not, at least for the foreseen future. So this is a place where you can come hear more about desktop applications that integrate with desktop. We're very fortunate to have Gary DeHart with us today, which he's going to talk about the Canon product and the scanning capability and how it integrates with desktop. So he's going to be sharing more about that in his part of our hour. But again, just as a reminder, that's really what desktop time is about. Just for folks that, it's funny, literally, we go to these conferences and people almost come up and they kind of whisper like, hey, I want to talk to you about desktop, like someone's watching or listening. I mean, sometimes I kind of think someone's watching or listening, but reality be told, our job here at QBox is just to make sure people find the right application for their particular needs. We don't ever try to convince someone something's better or worse. We just want them to know they have options, and so that's really what my job is about. So anyway, so that's what we're talking about today. I am going to go ahead and do our normal introduction. As I mentioned, we're sponsored by QBox. We're extremely happy to be back live with you today. We've been kind of taking a little bit of hiatus. We had initially planned to take some time off because our scheduled date would have landed on tax season in April, so we thought, boy, that's kind of dumb. And then May, of course, the world kind of changed and a lot of things were going on, so we decided it probably wasn't the best time to have another desktop time. So here we're back in June, happy to be here. We're actually now scheduled in July. Our date would have landed on the new tax deadline date, so we decided we wouldn't have a desktop time in July, but we will be back in August, so we're excited about that as well, and I'll talk about that more in the hour. But again, normal introduction here. We're happy to have you here today. We know you have a busy schedule. We know there's a lot going on in the world. Everyone's working, doing the best they can, dealing with all the current conditions, so we're happy that you took time out of your day to join us. I do want to introduce both of our very esteemed guests today. Again, we have Tony Martinez here with us from Latino Tax Pros, and we have Gary DeHart, who's here both as the editor of Insightful Accountant, and also he's here on behalf of Canon today. So without any further ado, I'm going to read these guys' bios. I always like doing this, kind of embarrassing these guys, but this is what we had on our website, so they get to hear about themselves. So anyway, so Tony, Antonio is the VP of Business Development for Latino Tax Pros. What is the A for? LTP, Latino Practice Pros? Association? Yeah. Okay, Association. 2004, Tony earned a full-ride scholarship to the University of California, Berkeley. I didn't tell you that's where my son's going in the fall, by the way. Tony majored in engineering and was involved in various leadership and volunteer roles. Upon graduation, Tony joined the LTPA, which we'll use that now for Latino Tax Pros, with the goal of building a national brand. As VP of Business Development, Tony has led the exponential growth of the organization and organized various events throughout the country. In 2014, Tony or Antonio became an enrolled agent with the goal of representing Spanish-speaking tax preparers before the IRS. So thank you very much again, Tony. And I will talk to you later about the Bears because my son is one now.
Yeah. Sure.
Gary, of course, another very good friend of the company and good friend of mine, is the publisher and managing partner of Insightful Accountant, a digital magazine for the tech-minded accountant and small business advisor. DeHart, or Gary, has worked in media for more than 25 years and been instrumental in developing new revenue streams and business opportunities for the company he's worked for. Prior to launching Insightful Accountant, formerly Intuitive Accountant, DeHart was an associate publisher of Accounting Today, and prior to working in media serving the public accounting market, He worked in media for employee benefit managers and brokers, automotive design, textile manufacturing, and recreational boating. In addition to being the publisher and managing partner of Insightful Accountant, DeHart or Gary works with select clients within the accounting market on channel development and growth. He's an assistant scoutmaster with the Boy Scouts of America, enjoys fly fishing. I knew about that one. Time on the beach, cooking on the big green egg, and spending time with his family. So, and you're here to talk about Canon. We didn't even say anything about Canon in that intro. So, but Gary's going to share with us about Canon today.
That's the select vendors in the accounting community.
Okay, select vendors, select. Yeah. Anyway, so without any further ado, I would like to again introduce Tony. Tony, again, he's actually a San Jose native. I'm always pumping the California people that are on this show, and Gary's one of them Atlantans, but Tony's actually not too far from our office here in San Jose, California, although their office is in Salinas, just down the road. But Tony, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. We appreciate your company. Looking forward to the Tax Fest this year, which we were just talking about. You know, the world's kind of changed with conferences going away and yours being moved to December. But we'd love to just hand the floor over to you and share with us. I know you've been doing a lot in the way of education also with all the PPP and EIDL and all that craziness. So I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us today. So I'll hand the floor over to you.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, so to give everybody an overview of what we do as an organization, it's Latino Tax Professionals Association. We work with tax and accounting professionals who have immigrant clients. It can be Latino, Hispanic, or any other ethnicity. So if you have any clients who are here on a visa, who are resident, non-resident, who are undocumented, they may not even have a social, yet they have a business. That's who our members, the tax professionals that are our members, serve. So with that said, that's why we have unique content around that. We do a lot of education on like the I-10 or mixed status families, how to start an LLC with an I-10, for example, or how to be able to manage a workforce. That are the contractors or their employees. It happens a lot in our community, but overall, yeah, it's been an interesting few months looking to navigate all the craziness that's been happening, and we've turned into, in essence, like kind of like a news agency where you'll see us on Facebook Live if you follow us on our page Latino Tax Pro. Now what we're doing this week is, as of Monday, the EIDL, right, the Emergency Injury and Disaster Loan, is now back open, and a lot of people we work with are sole proprietors, they're contractors, they're looking to ask, hey, how can I still qualify for that money? Is it available to everybody? So we're doing a lot of education around that. We're also doing education around a PPP loan that ends. That program ends at the end of this month to be able to apply for that funding. But yeah, it's been great. Every year we do have a conference. We call it Latino Tax Fest, or also known as the Fest or the Tax Fest. It's usually in July. Yeah, this year we moved it till December, and Chris was there last year. So what did you think about it, Chris?
It was a great time. I didn't have my mute on, but it was an awesome time. It was a great conference. I mean, we always kind of judge it from the vendor side, and we had lots of interaction with folks, and you know, of course, it's fun. In fact, I joke with someone, you know, when you looked at the website before the conference, there's a lot of fun elements to it also, but definitely you could tell it was an environment where people were able to learn a lot of things. I think some of your courses are they CPE certified, and just a lot of great opportunities for financial professionals, and we were very fortunate and happy to be there as a vendor and had a lot of fantastic interaction with people. So
yeah, no, definitely. It's 3 days of classes, and what's unique is we have one class in Spanish and one class in English, but we are covering a lot of tax topics. The IRS goes to speak, yeah, the SBA, the Social Security Administration, et cetera. And yeah, you could earn continuing education. But I'll share my screen here just to give you an idea. But just overall, yeah, this year it's going to be interesting with all the conferences. A lot of them are going virtual. We're also going to offer a virtual component of this conference in case we're not able to meet, or somebody's not able to travel. But we are scheduled December 15th through the 17th. So what we did in essence, we pushed it all the way to the end of the year to be able to maximize the time needed to maybe having things reopened. But we are paying close attention to what's happening with, in this case, it's like the MGM in Vegas. It's in Vegas, to see how they're allowing conferences to open. But overall, yeah, that's what we do as an organization. We just, we're very heavy on education, on community. People seem to come together. A lot of people speak English, some people speak Spanish that work with us, and great partners like QBox and Chris. I've seen them at different events. We've been hanging out. And it's interesting, as we're trying to get more of our members to understand how to work with QBox and how it works. Most of our members, they're still on desktop. They're still using QuickBooks Desktop, and it seems a lot of the industry is. And so when we say, hey, you know, Intuit wants us to use QBO, they're like, I don't care what they want. I want to do what I want, right? Whatever my clients need me to use. So so we're all there with you regarding the desktop and such. But yeah, thanks, Chris, for allowing me to speak a little bit about what we do.
Yeah, thank you. And it's funny you mentioned that. I was just remembering the first time Tony and I met actually was in Boston, of all places, at a conference. It wasn't even their conference. So, but that's kind of the nature of the industry too. And I think that's one thing I've really enjoyed is that, you know, again, we're always kind of on the vendor side, so I don't necessarily know exactly. I mean, I've kind of learned the significance of the things that folks learn, and you know, financial professionals are dealing with so much all the time. So conferences like the Latino Tax Fest just give them a fantastic opportunity to hear from even, I mean, yours has significant representation even from, like you said, the IRS and other municipalities. So just a fantastic learning opportunity for them to gather information and resources that, you know, maybe it's funny, I in this role too, I'm kind of stuck at a desk and behind a computer a lot of times. So, and I think that's the case for a lot of folks. They get out, and so it's their chance to learn and you know, kind of satiate a lot of information. But and then there's the fun part too, and they always enjoy that. But I think more than anything, they go because they just want to glean a lot of information and learn about, you know, what the new regulations are and the new steps they need to be aware of, and also new resources that they can integrate with their office. So they're always a fantastic opportunity for us. And like them, I feel like I'm learning, you know, each time that I go too, just trying to, you know, get as much information as I can and learn more about the business. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what's the latest? I just saw something come up where the Congress just passed this new form of a loan that's not forgivable like PPP. Is that something you guys are now dealing with and interacting with clients? I just saw something last few days where I forget the name of it, the title they gave it, Good Faith or... Are
you talking about the Paycheck Protection Flexibility Act or a different one?
No, because I think a lot of people were frustrated with that, and so there was a chance for it to be forgiven. Actually, one of our questions, someone was asking PPP questions, which I'm the wrong guy to answer. Someone like Tony knows a lot more than I do. But I was just curious how that process has been going. I know it ran out of money once, and then the federal government authorized more money, and so there was a lot of people that were trying to take advantage of it, and it wasn't necessarily as easy as they thought. Although, has it gotten simpler? Are people able to get resources they need now more readily? Is there other options, or what's been your experience?
Yeah, no, definitely. I know with the new Paycheck Protection Flexibility Act, it's made it more easier for people to kind of embrace and work with all the PPP regulation. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen. This pretty good article here from Gusto Payroll, and there's basically breaking down this new legislation that changes some of the terms. Like, so for example, if you go in to get your PPP loan now, there is a percentage that may be forgiven, but after doing the calculation, if certain percentages is not forgiven, you actually have up to 5 years to repay your PPP portion that's not forgiven instead of 2 years. So that is on loans after June 5th, PPP loans. If you got your loan before June 5th, you could speak with your lender and negotiate that. And if you both agree, hey, let's make it 5 years instead of 2, great. You know, it'll make your payment smaller. Now, the goal though, right, is to not have to repay it, to allow it to be forgiven. For it to be forgiven, some other piece of news, you only need to spend 60% on payroll. It used to be 75% that you needed to spend on payroll. So now you only need to spend 60%, and you need to spend the funds. You could spend them in 24 weeks instead of 8 weeks. Before, you had to spend the money in 8 weeks, and it needed to be 75% payroll for it to be forgiven. Now we're looking at you could take 24 weeks to spend the money, and only 60% of it has to be at least 60% on payroll. The rest would be utilities, would be rent or mortgage interest. Yeah, I mean, and now they also put a stipulation in here is if you try to, you also had to rehire employees that, if you laid off employees before February 15th, you had until June 30th to rehire them and pay them for you to get this money forgiven. Now you have up to the end of the year. You have until December 31st to rehire those employees that you did lay off in order for them, this money, because again, the goal is to get this money forgiven. And if you could show in good faith that you tried to rehire these employees and they didn't want to come back, maybe because they're getting bigger unemployment checks and they are working for you in your business. But if you could show, hey, look, I tried all year. It's December 31st. I couldn't rehire a few of these guys. I know I got the PPP loan money. I tried to use it, but I couldn't. Then you may get that money forgiven. But I'll share this link with everybody. But just to answer your question, Chris, yeah, we're just, all this new legislation, all the new guidance coming up, we're just looking to stay on top of it. And PPP guidance, but also the EIDL emergency loan. And there's also, I'll share another link with these guys, Augusto Payroll. They have a good, it's a spreadsheet that has state by state grants. So a lot of people keep hearing the EIDL, PPP, but there's so many other grants that exist at a city level, at a county level, at a state level that you could take advantage of. And our recommendations apply to everything, and whatever hits and you get, awesome. So I'll share that with you guys as well.
Okay. And actually, I was just looking because you gave me that crazy look, and I thought maybe I'm crazy, but it's called Main Street Lending Program, but the IRS just initiated like yesterday or the day before. So that's kind of, and it's interesting. It specifically said, the articles I read, it was kind of a new alternative to the PPP loans, and it says there's absolutely no way to not have any portion of it forgiven. So, anyways. That's what I was referring to. I apologize.
I'll check that out. No worries. I didn't know about that, so I'll check it out for sure. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So you talked about a lot of the services. So and it's interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people, like even the Tax Fest, they kind of put into that niche, or of because your practice is centered around largely in California Hispanic-based financial professionals, but you work with everyone, right? I mean, right? I mean, that's important for people to understand.
Exactly. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, we happen to attract a lot of, say, Hispanics or Latinos because we happen to speak Spanish. We happen to be Latino ourselves. But, yeah, I would definitely, I mean, we have clients who are different ethnicities, different background, different types of businesses. And, yeah, and they just join us as well. And tax season is still going on. So July 15th is the tax deadline. So we're, in our own firm here, we're about to start entering the end of tax season phase, which means we start, usually we have a lot of, or a good amount of temp or seasonal workers. So now we're seeing if they're available still. We're like, hey, we need you back. We're going to get busy here the last 4 weeks. We're doing a little bit of marketing on the radio and TV, some social media marketing, like, hey, at the end of tax season push. But around this time, it's usually those that have longer, long forms, the business owners, the homeowner rentals. That are coming in, they're like, I owe tax. I was waiting till the last minute to pay my tax, all my taxes. So yeah, it should be interesting here. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's another, oh, by the way, tax season got moved to July 15th. So that's been a challenge, I know, for a lot of financial professionals. So I mean, just like everyone else, it's interesting you mentioned that. I kind of was asking my wife the other day, we went to a big box store and they did like a soft opening, probably had maybe a third of their employees, and I was telling my wife that's got to be hard to just get back in touch with these people, and are they still around? Are they still available? Even, getting in touch with them, and has their life changed? Have they moved? Are they still available to be employees? And I know you talked about even the context of PPP. I'd heard people say that, and then there were some people that just said, hey, you know what? I kind of like the stimulus thing and unemployment. I'm good. So some employers struggle with that too, and so the rules change regarding, paying payroll and them being able to receive unemployment. But I can imagine that's a challenge. Getting, are people still around? Are they still in the same homes? Did they have to move in with someone else just due to the financial difficulties of the situation? And so I mean, to hear you say that doesn't surprise me, because I can imagine that's the case. It's interesting for us. We all kind of looked at each other back on March 17th and shrugged our shoulders and said, I guess we're working from home now. And so in some businesses like ours, it's not the end of the world to move home and work remotely. But gosh, for a lot of businesses where they have to interact directly with the public, it's been much more of a challenge, I'm sure. We do have a few chat questions here. Let me I think one, so we had the one about PPP, someone that was asking specifically about how you saw that. And then I had some others, I guess those are from, anyways, I'm just not used to doing webinars it's been a while. Anyway, so can you tell me anything, you talked about starting to jump kind of back into are you going to be doing promotion for you call it the Fest, the Tax Fest coming up now, or are you feeling confident? I mean, I know Vegas has kind of opened up in full swing again as best Vegas can. Are you feeling pretty good about the December date and the conference in December?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's far out, about 6 months, and it gives us time to see how other locations reopen, if there's any other events. Mm-hmm. But there is that cloud hanging over everybody. Is there going to be like an uptick of say COVID cases, and we're gonna have to reclose the whether events or casinos or etc. So we are getting ready a virtual option to the Tax Fest, a virtual Tax Fest. So because at the end of the day, whether we have it in person or virtual, what's going to be huge for next year are all the changes, all this new legislation, how it impacts the tax return, how it impacts the credits, the individual side, the business side, self-employed, etc. So people are going to be looking for tax updates, the tax changes, understanding how to be ready for tax season 2021. So that's what our main focus is on. Okay. Is getting ready to present those topics, partnering up whether with the IRS or the state agencies to have content ready, presentations ready to give the information to the people. Okay.
That makes a lot of sense. Gosh, then you survive the year, and then you still got to reconcile it all come the beginning of 2021. So it just doesn't end.
Yep.
Okay. So what now? Any other services specifically you want to talk about? And I know, by the way, too, Tony is very generously on behalf of Latino Tax Fest. We're actually giving away an admission to the Tax Fest, and Allison's working on the giveaway process. I'm not sure what's happening with that, but anything else you want to share about services that you're providing or upcoming? I know you've been doing a lot of public presentations too about the newest rules and loans and things. Anything you want to share with us about in the immediate future, things people should look out for? And by the way, too, we do send a follow-up email from today's webinar, and Tony's going to give me any information you'd like to promote. So we'll make sure we get that to everyone. But is there anything specifically you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have any tax clients and different people that are looking to maybe get into the tax industry, we have it's called an instructor program where you could start teaching tax classes and you could start your own tax school. So that's pretty neat where because we developed the tax education, so you could use our online platform, and you could even offer continuing education to those students coming into your class. If you're in California, they need a 60-hour CTEC class to start preparing tax returns. So that's available as well. We have our membership for you to be involved with us and get the latest updates and get it includes an online course. But yeah, we have right now a summer webinar series, and I'll go ahead and I'll share that here. Let me show you our homepage So just different topics coming up in our webinar series. This week it's how to fill out a 1040 NR, non-residents. So if you do have clients that are non-residents. And then next week we have corps and partnerships and LLCs, how to navigate through those, why it matters. And all of our speakers are CPAs or enrolled agents, and you get continuing education too for taking these classes. Then we talk about what is reasonable compensation, how has COVID-19 affected your tax practice, etc. And it's all the way through October. So, and then real estate and taxes, nonprofit. So I'll go ahead and I'll share this with everybody just to be aware of some of these topics that we have available. IRC 139, employer provided tax-free disaster relief. That should be a good one. And John Sheely, some of you guys may know him, an enrolled agent. He's going to be covering that. So as you can see, we do everything in English and also in Espanol and Spanish. And then 2021 updates. We're going to finish off the series here with some latest breaking news updates. So yeah, definitely would love to have you guys join. It's like, $68, 30 something bucks. So it's not too bad. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Now, is that something we can, you can give me a link that we can send as a follow-up email? People can get the link to the courses that are available also?
Yeah.
After today?
I'll do that. I'll put it on the chat here, but I'll send it to you also.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so just as I didn't mention at the outset, but we'll also send everyone, both those who are able to join us today and those that weren't able to, we'll send you a link with information or access to that. And Tony just posted also in the chat the link to those courses that they provide and the registration page that shows all the different topics. So a lot of valuable resources there. I was kind of scanning through myself. Again, I'm just a vendor guy, but a lot of stuff I want to learn more about. So anyways, thank you so much, Tony. I know you're extremely busy these days, and life is challenging, and we're constantly moving different places, and it's just interesting. I don't know what else to say about it. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to join us, and folks, please check out all the resources that they provide. Please check out the Fest in December. I think they, again, provide just some incredibly valuable tools that will help you in your practice and help you understand things everywhere from, a lot of the new regulations, things that are going on, to just standard tax-related type questions. So definitely take advantage of those resources. So thank you very much again, Tony, for joining us. And we'll go ahead and transition at this point. Gary, if you're still around, I'm going to hand the floor off to Gary. There he is. He's back up in the mountains. Those are the mountains of Georgia.
Or possibly New Mexico.
New Mexico, okay. I don't remember mountains like that in Georgia. But anyways, so welcome, Gary, and thank you again, Tony. And Gary, I'm going to hand the floor over to you. You're going to talk to us about Canon and maybe mention a little insightful account. I don't know. I threw that in there. So anyways, welcome. And what's that? We don't know anything about that. That's right.
And actually, it's funny that you mentioned that you met Tony in Boston, because I think that's where, I think that might even be the first place we met. And if it's not the first place we met, I think it's where I endeared myself to you when we were sitting in the lobster restaurant, and I'm in the booth.
That's right.
Chris has his lobster bib on. I'm from our booth. I'm like, hey, nice bib.
Yeah, that's okay, so two things. A, that is like the best lobster I've ever had in my life in Boston. But B, so Gary was there with Joe and Jeff and some others, and I'm like, who is this character mocking my lobster bib? So,
and if you don't know Chris is not a small person. So,
yeah.
Bib, and he looks at me like, I beg your pardon? Then he realized who I was.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. And I told my wife that story, and she's like, yeah, you've lost your mind. You really need like a filter or something.
Yeah.
But
anyways, yeah, that was a good time.
Unfortunately, we're not going back. At least not for Accountex. Yeah. That won't be there. Well, ever. Like Chris said on the intro, so I'm the publisher, managing partner of Insightful Accountant. We also launched a new product called Tax Practice News, and we also produce a number of web seminars. We'll probably do about 100 web seminars this year, maybe more, but 100 is probably about where we will end up. And we do have one actually scheduled. I think it was, I got to look at my phone. It's June the 24th. That is PPP loan forgiveness guidelines explained. Nice. So that's one actually, Matthew's doing that. Your Matthew Fulton will be hosting that. And we'll get a link out to you for that. It's free of charge. And so it should be good details on that PP loan and the forgiveness. And so about 4 years ago, I started working with Canon, just representing them in the tax and accounting space. And that's where I initially met Tony and his crew. And so we've been actually participating with Latino Tax Fest for, I think this will be our 4th year there. I can't even remember now. Dates all run together. But if you've not been, it's a great show. They do an excellent job of entertaining, but it's really about the content, and the content's over the top. But it's it is a fantastic event. So we look forward to being out there again this year in Vegas in December. It might be, how's that going to impact the pool party?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out, because people love that pool party, and it's too chilly. Maybe we'll put a bunch of hot tubs everywhere. We'll see.
That's right. Here we go. So, but it is a good event. So what I don't want to do is get on here and just say, oh, buy Canon scanners. You do need to buy scanners. I mean, everybody needs scanners at some point, whether you're multifunction machines, whether you're doing desktops. What I work in really is desktops, individual, what we would call distributed scanning, where it's not everybody going to a traditional multifunction machine, but everybody having their own machines on their desk. And Canon has machines that range from basically $150 up to roughly $1,000 or more if you're really high end. And actually, Latino Tax is a reseller of Canon scanners, and Tony has a link to their site where you can purchase online, and they can do all the fulfillment and what have you. But what I did want to cover, so I'm going to have to share my screen, is less about product and a little more about the kind of the why of on the scanning side. And I'm going to build it around, and I was on this show about a year ago, and I hope this isn't the same thing that I did before, because this was a presentation that I used at another event. I don't think I used it here. I hope I didn't. If I did, forgive me, or hopefully you'll still learn something even if I did. So again, Gary DeHart. I do work with Canon just as an independent contractor to them, serving the tax and accounting space. So I go to a lot of trade shows, and like Chris said, surprisingly, I've been in media for 25 years. I know I don't look it, but believe it or not, it's true. And for the last 10, probably about 13 years, I've been in the accounting space, tax and accounting space. And for the last 15 years, maybe even 20, the market, the profession has been talking about going paperless, or the path to paperless, or the most recent term I heard was digital transformation. And 15 to 20 years we've been talking about it, but as you see the picture of the guy with his desk absolutely covered in papers, I think that's still what a lot of offices look like. And so then you have to ask why. Why do so many offices, whether they're tax and accounting offices, whether they're small businesses or even large businesses, why do we have all this paper? What's preventing the market? What's preventing us as individuals? So I'm still not paperless, and in full transparency, it's on my list is to go paperless, but I'm not there yet. But what's preventing us from doing that? I think it's security concerns. We hear about it every day, right? Every day somebody's getting breached. I just don't have the time. And it is not going to be, when I finally do mine, whether I do it in one big chunk or piece by piece, it is going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of a thought process. I think people think, oh gosh, it's another software that I have to purchase. I don't know where to start, I think is a big one. And then there's others, who knows? Could be 100 different reasons. We have, at least people my age and probably 10 years behind me, we grew up with paper. And certainly people older than me grew up with paper. And I think it's hard to break habits. So if you want to go paperless, though, how do you effectively do it, or how do you effectively transform digitally? You do need a scanner. We would prefer that you have a Canon scanner, but there's a lot of great products out there. And you could use your multifunction machine. Maybe you use, depending on the size of your office, maybe you just use your, I have a Canon or an HP 6600 that's a small desktop multifunction. It's very slow. It could do the job, but you need a scanner. You need to something to get rid of those source documents, and then your current documents. But then you also need something that's going to handle your future documents. You're going to need a software. You're going to need somewhere to store that, whether it be locally, whether it be in the cloud, whether it be local with the cloud backup, and maybe you even need additional services. If you're a 10-partner accounting firm or tax firm or a business that is just full of paper, you may have to outsource that. And it probably would be worth the time just to outsource, bring in a scanning service that will digitize and free up 2 rooms in your office space. And you're going to need time, and you will need some staff, and primarily you're going to need the desire to drive that and to drive that plan, whatever the plan is. I don't think it has to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be done by somebody. So the good news is the Canon brand that you know, love, and trust makes some of the best scanners on the market. And again, I'm trying not to make it a sales pitch, but it is about Canon. But ultimately, again, there's great products on the market. Canon makes some, competitors make some, and certainly if you shop 2 or 3 of the top competitors, you're not going to go wrong. Tony's got some great prices on the Canon products, but the great news is Canon products are ridiculously reliable, ridiculously priced, and some of the models have ridiculous warranties, and all the asterisks are there about ridiculous is really being used in a good way. And then here's some kind of funny, ridiculous pictures, kind of the Dumb and Dumber and the guy with the crazy mustache and a Judge Judy tattoo. I can't imagine. So ridiculous, but Canon can certainly hook you up and help you get through the path to paperless process. And there is, more good news. I don't know how many people or what our age group is on here, but Different Strokes, a great show. So what are you talking about, Willis? But I'm Gary. And so the other great news is the Canon products. So if you are in the market, if you're going to buy a scanner, you're going to want to look for one that is Twain compliant. And Twain is just easiest way to put it. It's just the driver that's connecting the hardware and the software. And when a scanner is Twain compliant, it is going to work with virtually any software that you have. All of Canon's desktop scanners are Twain compliant. Most of them also have an ISIS driver, and if you're on a Mac, you're going to look for that Twain and ISIS. And we also have direct integrations, APIs, and plugins that will work with some of the bigger softwares or software names like Office 365, the Google storage suites. So Canon has really built out a good software suite, good product group to help people just with their functionality. And specific in tax and accounting, kind of in the space that we serve, Canon is working pretty closely with a lot of the vendors in the space to, we've developed some direct integrations. We've developed some plugins like SmartVault. We have a plugin with SmartVault. We have direct integrations with Box and Dropbox. But again, going back to the Twain compliant scanners, the reality is if you have Twain, you really don't need the integration. So when I first came on board with Canon, part of my job was to get software developers to develop these integrations. And what we found was they don't really want to do that. They don't want to spend the time or the effort on it, even if Canon was willing to pay, because it wasn't really necessary. We had a few of them who did, and it's worked very well, but most of them just use the Twain driver, and you're driving your software like if you're using Drake, you're using Drake, and you can scan directly from, power the scanner directly from within Drake. So we're working pretty much with any and all software solutions out there. And then if you're a little bit larger base or you need a network scanner, we do have that. You know, we've got a ScanFront 400, which is a little bit more expensive. It's about $1,800. I think that price actually has gone down since I initially put this together. But then we also have, if you don't want to go that high end, we do have some adapters that are Wi-Fi adapters or local area network adapters that cost $170 to $200 to make your scanner Wi-Fi capable or network capable. And so, all right, so let's say here we are. I'm committed. I want to go paperless. And I have a scanner, but what do I really do? Well, whoever scanner you buy, whether it's Canon, whether it's a competitor, whether you already have one, read the user's manual. I don't read them for most things I buy. And when I started reading them for the Canon scanners, because I need to be familiar with them, it's an amazing tool. And I'm sure the competitors are as well, have great capabilities that can save you time. And ultimately, that's really what you're trying to do, save time and get rid of paper. So read the user's manual. They are very helpful. If they're not printed, go online. You can find them. You've got to commit to going paperless. If that's really part of how your business, how you see your business in the future, you have to commit to going paperless. And you're going to need a plan. Set a start date and a projected end date. Identify who's going to do that work. You've got to have a champion. Determine where you're going to store your data. Like I said before, is it local? Is it cloud-based? Is it both? Am I going to put it on a hard drive that I stick in a safe somewhere because I still don't completely 100% trust the cloud-based services? Backup of my backup. Determine where, whether you need new software. Again, if you're buying a Canon or, again, most competitors, you probably don't need a new software. We're going to work with what you have, and in a fairly simple process, digitize your paper and put it in a storage place where you need it. But there's also, we have partners that are very inexpensive that can help you do this very easily. File Center comes to mind, and they're a desktop software, but you scan. I think it's like $200 for the software. Pretty inexpensive. And then you also need to figure out, do I need more data storage? Storage is pretty cheap, so if that's your biggest problem, then there's no reason stopping you here. So the models that we have, we've got starting in the portable, again, $150. Tony's prices may vary a little bit. These are the prices on the Canon Direct store. I don't know that Tony has all of our models on his store, but so it's roughly $150 for low-end portable, up to $225 for our P215, another portable. And from the tax side standpoint, I used the 215 for a long time, not as a tax preparer, but just on my desk, because I don't use it every day. I don't have a lot to scan. So the 215 is nice because you can stick it in your drawer, pull it out when you need it, plug it into your computer. It only needs one cable, draws power and the data go through the same cable, and scan what you need to scan, put it back in your drawer, pull it out again when you need it. If you are like most tax and accounting firms, you are doing a lot more scanning than I am. We've got models starting at, like you see there, $340. I'm going to round up to $900. So really a price point for almost every situation that you could have. If you're a low-end, low-volume scanner, the 225 or the 230 would do very well. If you have a small desktop space to work with, the 225 is perfect for that. And there is a wireless model version of that, the 225W. Then the 230 has that more, what I would call a more traditional flow, and is highly, very capable machine. The 240, we still have it. They sell it. I kind of point people away from that machine, not because it's of capability, but because of the warranty. So the 230 is almost $200 less and has 2 more year of warranty, scans 10 pages a minute less. Functionality, almost everything else is the same. But then if you move up to the 260, has a 5-year warranty, and that is a full-on 5-year If it's broken, Canon's going to replace it. If it's not working, you have access to the 800 OK Canon. You get on the phone, and they will walk you through troubleshooting if you have problems. They're US based, English speaking, and they have 2 facilities, one on the East Coast and one in, I think it's in New Mexico, so in Mountain Time. And that's the 260. The brand new machine or newest machine that Canon has is the one on the bottom, DRS 150. I literally received it today. We've had it, I think it's been around about 6 or 8 months. I've not been able to put my hands on it yet, but it's one that I think probably I'll get down to where I'm probably recommending 2 machines, the M260 and then the S150. The S150 is, again, super capable, scanning 45 pages per minute. It scans passports. The 260 will scan passports as well. Hard cards can go through there. The difference on the S150 is it has a touch screen, like a color touch screen like you might have on the big multi-function copy machines. And it comes Wi-Fi enabled out of the box. So if you're in the market for a scanner, these are great products. Canon builds a good product. Everybody knows Canon, right? Everybody knows the brand. Certainly from an imaging standpoint, and to get good scanning, good image quality, it's all about the image, and I think Canon knows a little bit about the image. So that's really it. That's the core of what I wanted to talk about, but I do want to really encourage people to think about the process of going paperless. Again, whether you're in an accounting firm, a tax firm, or a small business using desktop, you don't need all the file cabinets. You don't need all of the paper that is cluttering up your office. And again, starting this process, I'm like, all right, I'm doing mine kind of blocks of time. I'll do 30 minutes. And I was pulling out tax returns. Tony, this will probably make you laugh being a tax guy. I found a tax return from 2001, I think. Don't think I need to keep it that long, right?
Nope, that's a little too much. Yeah.
That has been shredded, and I did scan it, though. I do still have it.
Scan it. Why not?
So that's all I had. But Tony, did you put up the link to your page where you guys are selling the scanners?
Yeah. I put up the link, but let me. I'll share. If you stop sharing yours, or after people capture your data here, when you stop sharing, I'll share my screen real quick, and then you could see. Yeah, because we have this on our website, and I sent everyone the link. So it's pretty good pricing because of all the volume we have. So be aware of that, and we're more than happy to get that to you. But yeah, Gary, call me. We're just here to help. Yeah. So in the morning we had a webinar with auto entry, that software that you scans bank statements, and they kept saying, hey, you got to start scanning Canon, and everybody uses the Canon scanners. That's awesome.
Yep. And again,
right there.
Yeah, so the 260, the one on the far left, has the 5-year warranty. The 230 has the 3-year warranty. The second one left to right, the 225, that's the one that is great if you have a smaller footprint on your desktop. If you're, one thing I don't like about it for a tax office or an accounting office, if you're having to scan an ID card, it can do that. It's capable of doing an ID card, but there's a couple of other steps that you have to go through in order to do that. And in process and in the workflow, we don't want to have a whole bunch of steps, right? We want to set it, press, and forget it. But if you had to scan ID cards with that paper, there's just a couple of extra steps that you have to go through that I think, in the middle of tax season, you don't want to have to go through. Whereas the other more traditional machines, you just stick your ID card or on top of the stack of paper, and it runs right with it.
Yeah, indeed. No, awesome. Yeah, I know we use them at our own tax and accounting offices just to automate, again, automation, just to get things flowing. And some people who don't have a scanner on their workstation, they're like, oh, what's up? Are you going to get me up to speed? So it's funny, as we're making that transition now, it's like people actually need them. So it's a great tool.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, both of you guys. And we will make sure we have the link not only to their website, but also their Canon link as well on the Latino Tax Fest website as well, so everyone has access to that also. But thank you very much, Gary, for the demonstration, and for that definitely is the way everyone's going, is a paperless environment. So that's a fantastic resource for people to have those documents available in soft form, but not to have them in a file cabinet somewhere, like you said. In fact, going through a recent real estate transaction, it's amazing how little paper people use anymore. So that's definitely the way that the world's going. So that's an excellent tool for that. So thank you very much also, Tony. Thank you to Gary again. And we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but we're going to go ahead and wind down unless anybody has any additional questions.
I'm sorry, there were 2 questions I just saw in the...
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there was one regarding does Canon interact with SharePoint and Microsoft, I'm assuming 365 or 360? It says SharePoint and 365.
Yes.
Are there different document type formats that scanned documents are normally saved in, or is there one set type? And then I think the other one, maybe, Tony, was more for you. Is it true individuals do not receive the $1,200 stimulus, so they'd be able to apply for it next year?
Yeah, indeed. So when somebody goes and files their 2020 tax return, which will be next year during 2021 tax season, in there they're going to determine if you qualified for that economic impact payment, also known as the stimulus, but you didn't receive it for whatever reason. You won't get it as part of your refund next tax season. Now, if they determine that, hey, you got one that you didn't deserve because of the family size or your income, they're not going to ask for that money back. You just got that money. Because remember, the reason they give you that money, they base it on your 2019 or 2018 tax return. And maybe in 2020, your income doubles or it actually increases. Or the other way around, you didn't qualify because your 2019 income was too high, 2020 income falls. And now you're like, hey, I should have qualified for it, but you were basing it on my 2019 numbers, and I don't have any money. It's 2020, but you're going to get it this upcoming tax season.
Okay, excellent.
And then
someone, the one person asked for your, I don't know if you saw that, Tony, they asked for your information. Directly.
Yeah, let me add it. I'm going to send it to the chat, everybody, so you guys can have it.
Okay.
For sure.
And then on the questions about the scanners, so the different document types, the Canon will scan to 5 or 6 different document types. Everything from, PDF is typical, but it will certainly do a TIFF file. You can actually scan to a PowerPoint. I've never done that, haven't had a need to. You can save as a JPEG. I don't know if it's EP. I don't think it's EPS, but there's about 5 different file types that you can choose how you want it to save. I think even to an Excel. And then the plugins that come, in the box, so to speak, are we have Microsoft OneDrive and SharePoint are box software that's out of the box, and you can even download it online if you needed to. And then again, we do have plugins, plug-in with Smart Vault, which is pretty heavy in the tax space as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for catching those questions too. they kept coming in. I think that covers all of them. But again, I'll make both of their information available to everyone, and obviously people were very interested in the content today. So, but thank you very much again, both of you, first and foremost, for taking the time to join us today, Tony and Gary. We appreciate it. I know both of you guys have been very busy of late with just even kind of addressing what's going on in our world and how it affects the financial industry. But we hope you, again, got some good, useful information today. If we'll send out those follow-ups if you want to pursue some of those resources that Tony showed on his screen. Those will also be available to you. And as a reminder, again, we will not have desktop time in July just because of the tax season deadline change in July 15th. Happens to be the third Wednesday, which is normally when we'd have desktop time. But we will be back in the month of August. And in the month of August, we have We have three folks that are joining us. Both of you know them, Mariette Martinez, Matthew Fulton, and also Linda Artisani. Three great people, wealth of knowledge. So we hope you all make it back to join us in the month of August as well. And we'll look forward. They're going to talk also about, kind of the modern practice, some of the different things you can use to optimize your practice and use technology. So we're looking forward to having them in the month of August. So anyways, thank you very much again for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. We know, again, the world's a little different place these days, but we're happy that we can continue to work with you. If we can answer any questions, any one of us, please take advantage and get in touch with us. If you have any other questions after today, feel free to email us or Coral Tree will make sure to get you in touch with them, but we will also send a follow-up email with contact information for both Gary and Tony. So, but thank you very much again for joining us today. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and we'll look forward to seeing you back in the month of August. So thanks again to both you guys, and thank you to everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
All right, thanks, Chris. Have a good one.
All right, take care.
Bye.